Welcome to the Nursing Post podcast, All Nursing All the Time with Ashley Moore and Rosa Horsley. In this episode, we discuss nursing stressors and how to help maintain a work-life balance. Our goal is always to inform and start conversation.
Nurses face challenges every day, from day-to-day stressors to work safety concerns. And job stress is defined as a negative emotional and/or physical response that can occur when your job requirements do not match with your abilities, resources, or needs. In these uncertain times, it is extremely important to take care of yourself for your own wellness, and finding a good work-life balance is important to reduce stress and to help with burnout.
How important is the subject? Very important, and we always love statistics, so we're going to drop a few right here. In a study from 2016 from the University of Toledo, Ball State University, and Lock Haven University, examined a questionnaire response from 120 nurses. This is what their study found. 92% had moderate, high, or very high levels of work-related stress. 78% of respondents got less than 8 hours of sleep each night. 79% of respondents reported no regular exercise. 63% of respondents said they don't have at least 5 servings of fruits or vegetables daily. 22% said that they were considered binge drinkers, and 70% of those respondents said that they sometimes to every time eat more junk food than usual to deal with workplace stress. A similar number of respondents, 63%, said that sometimes to every time eat more food than usual to help them as a coping mechanism.
And in nursing or healthcare in general, we can definitely see where that can happen. You know, it's nothing for me to go to the store, bring in a variety of chocolates, snacks, and kind of have them there that everybody kind of pitches in and, you know, snacks on throughout the day, or that's what they do in lieu of lunches.
Yeah. I mean, if not, you mean like working in a doctor's office, you get luxury sometimes of reps bringing you breakfast and bringing you lunch and consistently being fed. So
right. And so it's a bit different when you're in the more patient care centered facilities.
You just kind of eat when you can.
And so we looked into a little bit of stress and its effect on the body and the mind. I was kind of surprised to see the effects that stress can have on your entire body, because it does affect your entire body. And of course, this all is based on the type and timing and the severity of stress. So if you're stressed every now and then, it's not going to really have the same effect as if you are constantly working in a high stress environment. So just, you know, take that into consideration. But headaches, depression, and insomnia are the biggest ones that stress can affect. And I think that most of us know that when we take our work home and we can't sleep at night because we're thinking about all the things that we need to do or should have done or need to get done. With that, there becomes a decreased immune response. You can get issues with chronic inflammation and like IBS, heartburn and ulcers, inflammatory bowel disease. You can have changes in libido for both males and females. Women can have problems with their menstruation cycle, chronic pain, and really this is lower back pain specifically. I guess people carry their stress in their back. Hypertension, which can lead to MIs and strokes. Obesity, because we're not eating right. We just covered that. And stress can cause your airway to constrict. And so that's really not relevant to people who don't have any airway disease. But for people who do have underlying lung disease, this can really affect their breathing.
Yeah, stress is important.
And then chronic or long-term stress can actually decrease the brain mass and weight. So what that eventually does is it leads to memory or cognitive issues and can even lead to learning difficulties. So constantly being in a high stress environment, it really does affect everything.
It just kind of eats away at your health. When you look at it from this list, it just slowly is pecking away.
Right. And I mean, I could have probably done a lot more research and dove into each
Hmm.
system specifically, but I just kind of wanted to highlight. And people, if you really start thinking this through, like, oh, you're stressed, so you're not sleeping, and then you're not sleeping, and you're not eating right, and you're tired, and all that
It's an
stuff just starts.
accumulative effect. Like it
Exactly.
just starts compounding and compounding. So, yeah. In 2017, a study on nurse burnout surveyed over 600 healthcare professionals and determined that nearly half of nurses working in the United States have considered leaving nursing.
That's so sad.
It is sad. Most people, I think, get into nursing because they actually are driven and have a passion and want to care, and they're very compassionate and empathetic. And that's a lot of us go into nursing thinking we're going to change the world, but we want to help other people. So when you get into nursing and you're in the thick of it, and all these stressful things start happening, like not enjoying your work anymore, feeling like you're overworked, it makes some nurses question, like, did I pick the right profession? Is this profession for me? Did I bite off more than I can chew?
Right. Well, I mean, and how many nurses have we all heard say, if I spend as much time with the patient as I did documenting, what care could we really give?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've said that in the last few weeks. I said I want to be a real nurse. I want to actually take care of patients. I don't want to push paper. And I understand documentation is one of the most important parts of nursing by far, because if you didn't document it, it wasn't done. But I wanted to be a nurse and to become a nurse for that patient care and interaction. Like,
Absolutely.
that's why me and probably most of nurses went into it. So in this study, some of the reported, I guess, not complaints, but concerns were that nurses didn't enjoy their job. They were feeling like they were overworked, and 46% of nurses reported an increase in their workloads. 43 of those said that their workplace didn't support a healthy work-life balance, and 65% of nurses reported I should say that they felt like physicians could not do their job. 60% stated that they spend up to 25% of their day doing work that they think is the responsibility of the physician.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's a lot of nurses. 60%, that's a lot of nurses who feel like, providers are not doing their fair share and just like rolling it down the hill.
Right. And if that's 25% of their day, if you just take an 8-hour shift, that's still hours every day that they feel like they're doing something that's either one, out of their scope of practice, or two, would be better handled by the physician, whether
Absolutely.
it's explaining procedures and going over outcomes and things like that. I mean, I know that I've done that as a nurse when the doctor went in and said, hey, you need to have this procedure done. And the patient's just like, okay.
But then they'll leave, come back, and they won't come back, but they'll call and they'll be like, I have all these questions about my
Yep.
doctor's appointment that I had today with Dr. So-and-so. And then you're thinking, okay, so now you have to take your time and go pretty much back and forth between you and the physician, because the patient's going to have all these questions, and then you have to get in contact with the physician, and then you have to call the patient back. So I mean, that's a really good point.
Right. And how many nurses just sit down at the bedside and say, okay, this is a procedure that's going to be done. This is how they do it, and try to answer their questions and calm the patient because they don't want to bug the doctor because the doctor's too busy.
Mm-hmm.
Because that happens. I'm sure it happens every day in hospitals where nurses are sitting down
Everywhere.
explaining the procedures, or the doctor explained it, but I really don't understand anything that they said. But the patient doesn't want to say that to the doctor because they'll makes them feel like they're not educated.
Yeah. Along with those that we've already covered, lack of patient time, which we discussed, wanting something new, being swamped with paperwork, which we've already discussed, an overall lack of job satisfaction. With staffing shortages, it just compounds everything. There's more than 3 million nurses in the United States. We make up the largest segment of healthcare workers. And according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, 1.2 million vacancies will emerge for registered nurses between 2014 and 2022. So this particular stressor of, being overworked and not having enough staff is not going to go away anytime soon.
No.
On top of that, you're doing mandatory shifts and overtime because of staffing that had already existed. And then maybe on top of that, you were already short to start out with, but then a coworker is sick, family is sick. So now you're even way short than you were when you started.
And then you just burn out.
Yeah. I mean, if you're living that every single day, you do burn out. Everybody burns out at a certain point. And this isn't just in nursing. These are, I mean, I think it happens in other professions too. Nursing, I feel like more so, or healthcare, I feel more so. But I can imagine it's happening to other people in other places.
Oh, absolutely. But are they responsible for a person's life and well-being?
Yeah.
That's where
right.
our added stress, I think, really comes in, is because if we go home at the end of the day and we forgot something, that weighs, in my opinion, or should weigh on a nurse's mind pretty heavily. Like, oh, have I done everything? Or if you're trying to do everything that you can and you can't think of a way to fix a problem. Mm-hmm. I know that I'm going through that right now with the patient.
Yeah.
It's awful. I mean, I'm still, here I am still thinking about, is there something that I missed? Is there something that I can do? What else, who else can I call? What are the resources are there to fix this problem? It's something that I think that is embedded into nurses.
Yeah, it's hard to clock out and leave your patients at work.
Absolutely.
You know, I've been the one to wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh my God, did I forget this? Or, oh my gosh, I have to add that to my list for tomorrow. Or I've actually been off, thought about something while I was at home in bed and have called back up to work and be like, can you guys check on this for me?
Absolutely.
You know, because of such and such and such and such. To me, that's kind of the nurse that I would want. But I mean, it is leading to burnout.
Without a doubt.
So according to nursing.org, nurse burnout is a physical, mental, and emotional state caused by chronic overwork and a sustained lack of job fulfillment and support. 45% of nurses have been verbally harassed or bullied by other nurses. And I know we've talked about that
multiple
times. And seriously, it still happens.
It
still happens.
That just needs to stop with us as a nursing community.
Well, it's supposed to be teamwork. Let me tell you, you get a lot more done.
Absolutely.
If you have more people on your team.
That you respect and respect you.
Yeah. Get a lot more bees with honey, as they say.
Right. Well, and this to me even goes beyond nurses, like registered nurses to LPNs to CNAs to med techs to everybody. Like if your whole team works together, and I know you have my back and I have your back, then that patient's going to get better care.
Absolutely.
Hands down.
I saw a Twitter post. I can't remember who it was from, but it was a physician, and he said the patient had wanted like some crushed ice and, you know, like a fluffy pillow or whatever. And he said he took it upon himself to get that because, you know, patient care is all the way around from the top to the bottom.
I wonder how many nurses responded. I've never worked with a doctor who's ever done that.
Me either. But I was just like, you know what? Kudos to you for realizing that teamwork makes the dream work.
Absolutely.
41% have been verbally harassed or bullied by managers or administrators. I think this is pretty accurate. It's sad, but it's pretty accurate. 38% have been verbally harassed or bullied by physicians. This is crazy to me. Doctors generally spend, 15, 20 minutes with their patient? Then they move on to the next one. But you spend, as a nurse, more time with your patient than they do. So it kind of kills me to see that 38% of nurses are being bullied by physicians. I don't get it.
I don't get that either.
Of those who reported being harassed at work, 52% indicated that they were considering leaving nursing. And of those who reported no harassment, only 32% considered leaving nursing.
So that's a big jump. So it goes to show you that if you create even if they're overworked, just a positive work environment, people will stay because they like what, or at least who they're working with. According to the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, studies have generally linked these 11 factors with stress for nurses specifically. Work overload. So too much to do, not enough time. So that biggest thing is the patient to staff ratios. I know that the state that we live in doesn't have a mandate for that, which is sad. I think that if it was mandatory that we had good patient to staff ratios, we would get better care.
Absolutely. Imagine if I thought I read somewhere in one of these states that their ratio was 6-1, 6 patients to 1 nurse.
Which is not bad depending on
which
what you're
unit,
doing.
You're working in.
I mean, if you have a critically ill patient that's, like a COVID patient that's prone and on a vent and, needing, high flow oxygen or, BiPAP or, on pressors or anything like that, that's more on a 1-to-1.
Yeah, I agree.
And then time pressure, which is just, I think, mainly paperwork. Oh, this was due yesterday. You should have done that. It's just literally not enough time to get your work done. Lack of support. And there's like a disconnect with management or administration. Exposure to infectious disease. I feel like this is a given in nursing. I don't know any nursing school that would ever have even a thought process that nurses are not going to be exposed to infectious disease. However, we understand that we're going to be exposed to infectious disease with the proper PPE.
Absolutely.
And I know with COVID, that's kind of
it's not been the case.
It has not been. And so
it's still not the case.
Right. It makes me really mad when they go, oh, well, you're a nurse. That's what you signed up for. Like, yes, I did sign up to work with infectious diseases with the proper personal protective equipment. So thank you.
Yes, with the thought of not only am I going to care for this patient, but I'm going to be safe as well.
Right.
That's the whole thought about it. It's not that we didn't know a pandemic could ever happen. Ebola happened. MERS happened. We were fine. We got through it. PPE helped a lot.
Absolutely.
We knew we had it.
We have nurses actively working in these COVID units that are reusing their N95s until the integrity is compromised. That's not good.
No, they're for one-time use.
Needle stick injuries is another concern or stress factor. And again, I think that's another known one in nursing. Exposure to work-related violence or threats. So
we kind of talked about that.
We did kind of touch on that, especially with I think patient family members really, to me, is what stands out the most. Sleep deprivation. We don't sleep well. And of course, that compounds mental and physical fatigue, especially for like shift workers or people who are working mandatory overtime. Role ambiguity and conflict. So when you don't know what your role is and what your assignment is, and you are left to figure that out on your own, that adds stress, obviously. And then it leads to poor working relationship, understaffing. We know the nursing field is short.
To start.
It's just, I've seen really good people with really good hearts that went into nursing and left nursing because either their peers or administration was so nasty. It's almost like you're too nice to be a nurse, if that makes sense.
It kind of doesn't. It's kind of, that whole thing to me is weird because I'm sorry, I don't want nurse ratchet.
Right. But if you're not outspoken and able to stand up for yourself, and
you get eaten.
You'll get eaten by these other nurses or administrators or providers. And that's where it's very irritating to me. It's like, she was really, really nice, but she couldn't stand up to the doctor. Why should she have to?
Oh, light bulb.
Lack of career development or options. So some places offer limited opportunities. And I know as a nurse, I'm always wanting to learn and grow. There are other nurses out there, I'm sure, that feel the same way.
Absolutely.
Lastly, dealing with difficult or deathly ill patients. That's a high stress situation. If you're working a long code, especially with somebody who's younger, I know that sounds bad, but when you're coding somebody that's much more elderly and you're thinking during that code, should we be doing this? What quality is this patient going to have? Yes, we got them back alive and they're on life support.
They're not really
There's no
living.
quality.
Yeah, there's no quality of life in that.
But
then on the
flip side,
yeah.
if somebody that's younger, that has kids and a family, and you're trying everything, and that weighs on your mind, and it is a thought process.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like nursing's not for sissies.
It is not.
At all. Let's talk about some strategies to managing this stress. And I know everybody probably has heard these before, but I think hearing about it and putting it into practice is two totally different things.
Absolutely.
Okay. So regular physical activity, practicing relaxation techniques like deep breathing, meditation, yoga, tai chi, or massage. Keeping a sense of humor. I'll admit mine can be a little dark sometimes, but it still makes me laugh. Well, I still love to laugh.
That's why people get mad. They're like, oh, they're being mean. It's like, this is how we kind of decompress.
It's my coping mechanism.
It really is. And so if you're a nurse, I feel like other nurses intuitively just understand that. They're like, they're not being mean. They're not being hateful. That's their coping mechanism. It really is. So
sarcasm is my coping mechanism, and I'm just letting you know.
That's why we get along so well.
Yeah, that's how I make it through every single day. So yeah, laugh more, and laugh a lot. Spend more time, with your family and your friends doing the things that you enjoy to do. I know right now we're in the middle of this pandemic, so you just want to make sure that you're doing it social distancingly, and
be safe
with wearing masks, because safety comes first. And you want to set aside a time where you can look for hobbies, find a new niche that you are interested in and just like take it to 1,000. If knitting does it for you, more power to you. If crocheting does it for you, more power to you. I was telling a coworker at work the other day that, the babies in the NICU, oftentimes they need like booties and hats and, blankets. And a lot of those are donated from people that are at home knitting, quilting, and, crocheting. So like find something that you're passionate about and just do it. Make sure you're getting plenty of sleep. Make sure you're eating a healthy, balanced diet. And you can prepare good snacks ahead of time that you can take with you and grab and munch on throughout the day. So you want to make sure you're drinking plenty of water and that you're staying hydrated, because that's extremely important.
And I know that's tough because it's hard to find time to pee sometimes. But it's a minute to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And wash your hands, obviously.
Definitely. Definitely. And if you're a nurse, you're supposed to be doing it before and after. Just thought I'd throw that in there. You want to make sure you're avoiding tobacco use, excessive caffeine. And I know us nurses pretty much have caffeine running through our veins, but at a certain point, there is a such thing as too much. So you just want to make sure you're not overdoing it.
I humbly disagree.
If I have to peel you off the walls for bouncing a lot, I think you might have had a little bit too much.
You just need a friend, see? And then you have a backup. I can say, I think you don't need that extra cup of coffee.
Please don't have any more coffee today. You definitely want to make sure you're not excessively, using alcohol as your coping mechanism or any illegal substances. You want to try to keep your professional life as separate from your home life as you can. We talked about how hard it is to clock out, leave all that work at work, because we care so much about our patients. We build these rapports, but it's so important that you also put that time in with your family.
Yes, that will actually help you unplug. If you find something else that you like to do that can actually take your mind off of work, that's going to be mentally so refreshing and rewarding.
Absolutely. You want to make sure that you're not dwelling on those work issues at home. You want to make sure that, you can relax easily when you get off the clock. Just, Netflix and chill. I don't know what else to say. And these current times, that's pretty much what everybody is doing, is Netflix and chilling. So just take time to self-care and maintain yourself. Like, I was checked about this a couple of weeks ago from you, Ashley, telling me that, take care of you. Like, you have a family. You've got to put yourself in front here and do what you need to do to feel better, to get better, to do whatever, because place is still going to be running with or without you, but your family, that's going to affect for ever.
Right. And we forget that.
We do.
And we just have to be reminded, which is why family and friends, I think, are so important, because you have to have that person that can look at you and say, no, you need to do this. And sometimes just hearing that, it kind of just snaps you back into reality to be like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I need to take that second. Man, if you get PTO and if you get sick time and, personal days or whatever, your place of employment offers you, take it. You worked for it.
Absolutely.
It's your time, use it. Now, I'm not saying, to be using that all on the willy-nilly and calling out every week, but, plan ahead.
Right. Absolutely.
Journaling. I love this one because I feel like I should be doing it, but I just don't. Journaling, just reflecting on your day sometimes.
I became a nurse, so I didn't have to write in full sentences. So
I can imagine what some of our journals would look like.
Bulleted point, shorthand. I guess, as long as it comes out of your head.
Abbreviations all over the place that nobody would probably decipher unless they were a nurse.
I guess that's a good thing, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's funny, too. And, a holistic approach. We've already kind of discussed meditation and yoga, but there are other things, too, like acupuncture.
Yeah, and there are active studies now going on to see and try to explain how and why acupuncture is helpful. And this happened recently with meditation. It used to be, we know that it's helpful. We really couldn't explain why, but now there's a lot more, scientific data out there on meditation that it is helpful. And I read a wonderful study from NIH on yoga, and I like yoga personally, just because I think it does give me some time to kind of relax and just kind of like you literally are focusing on your breath and your movements. And so it literally shuts your mind down from other things. And I have to work real hard to not fall over. So, my focus, it's not cute when I do it, but it does help and, stretching and moving your body. The study that I read, 8-week yoga intervention, and what significantly improved a person's self-compassion and mindfulness. So when I was reading it, I'm like, okay, great. If you're in a better spot, then you'll be able to give better. But I honestly thought this was going to be an hour-long yoga session every day. So when I found out that it's 10 minutes a day, I was really surprised. It was an hour over the course of a week of 7 days, and they did 10-minute sessions 6 days a week. And I was like, wow, so many things you read are 20 to 30 minutes here, and you need 20 to 30 minutes of this. And so by the time you try to get in, 15 minutes of cardio and, 15 minutes of strength training, and then trying to do yoga and trying to do meditation, it's not about doing all of them. It's about picking one and being consistent. Yeah. So if 10 minutes when you get up in the morning to stretch and do yoga, it actually will affect you in a positive way.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that. Just 10 minutes. 10 minutes to do yoga, 10 minutes to just have complete silence and reflect.
Right. And it also helps with opening your joints, and it releases synovial fluids, and it improves your awareness. The thought process is, if you get up and you move and you stretch and it feels good, it's because you need that, because it is good. And so I'm like, 10 minutes. I could even do 10 minutes. Yeah. It ain't a cute 10 minutes, and I wouldn't want somebody filming me. But hey, that's all right.
No, I think I'm okay with yoga. Yeah.
No, I've always joked. I'm like, God had a sense of humor when he made me. He said, oh, I'm going to give her nice long legs. I'm going to make her clumsy. Let's see what happens.
I'm not so graceful. I can fall going upstairs, but I do okay with yoga.
Oh, I've just learned that that's who I am, and
Yep.
I'm
Just
okay
love
with
yourself.
it. Yeah.
Just love yourself. I love it.
Diet is another important thing. You want a diet that's high in antioxidants, that decreases free radicals and helps with brain fog. And it also helps with vitamin and mineral deficiencies. Kind of on a fence a little bit about that. In the United States, I don't think that we have a lot of vitamin deficiencies. Our foods are so enriched. But there are places that this would be an issue. And I don't know that they would necessarily have access to foods that are high in antioxidants, but just be aware that I say eat the rainbow.
Yay. And we're not talking about Skittles.
No.
We're talking about
the colors
and vegetables and healthy food. When you say that rainbow, I just see the commercial in my head.
That's probably about my kids. I'm like, eat the rainbow. I'm like, Skittles?
Well, we don't get paid for that advertisement, by the way.
No. Just a colorful variety of foods.
Absolutely. So sleep is so important. I don't think people realize it. I've heard these little sayings and comments, I'll have time to sleep when I'm dead. But actually, you not sleeping may be that result.
Yeah, it's killing you.
Yes, people need to start taking it more seriously. That's when you're growing as a child, is when you sleep. Your body's having a chance to rehabilitate and build healthy cells is when you sleep. So when you're only working off of 4 or 5 hours and you're doing that continuously for a long period of time, your body's not having that chance to relax, decompress. Regenerate and heal. So it's very important that we take a moment to do that. And, there's this whole new movement with these essential oils and lavenders and eucalyptus and,
very calming
scents. That's really picked up and taken off.
Yeah, there's teas and things like that you can drink to help with relaxing at night. And we could probably do a whole episode just on sleep.
Just on that. So absolutely. Give it a try. Make sleep a priority.
Yes.
Just as much of a priority as working and spending time with your family.
Yep. The high stress kind of situation that a lot of us are working in, specifically because we're in the middle of a pandemic, nurses are experiencing higher rates of stress and burnout, which directly affects patients. There is a statistical significance between nurse engagement and patients having better hospital stays. So this has been proven. Happy nurses leads to happy patients. And as nurses, I think what we need to do to help with the stress is come together as one entity to care for ourselves and each other. Be the friend that says you have to take care of yourself, and be the person that is willing to accept that information as well.
Absolutely.
Remember that in order to care for others, you have to care for yourself. So take that moment, even if it's not 10 minutes, even if it's 5, to sit and breathe and focus on yourself. It'll pay off in the end.
Absolutely. As always, we will link our references on our website, www.thenursingpostpodcast.com. We would love for you to join the conversation and leave your comments and suggestions there too. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe to our podcast, listen to us on your favorite platform, and you can always follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks again for listening to The Nursing Post.